from WSAV, the station that's on your side. You're watching First News at 5.
A military aircraft makes a crash landing in the Low Country. We will break down what we know in a live report. Good evening. I'm Ben Singer.
And I'm Tina Tyus Shaw. Thank you for joining us. We began with breaking news out of Beaufort County.
A military plane crashed near the Marine Corps Air Station. Large plumes of smoke have been seen coming from that scene. An FA-18 Hornet crashed around 3 this afternoon near Half Moon Island, Coosaw Plantation, that is north of Beaufort and east of Highway 21. The Marine Corps Air Station says it happened during a routine flight. We're told that the plane crashed in an uninhabited rural area of the Low Country. So that is where we find WSAV's Andrew Davis. He is joining us now live with what we know about this crash so far.
Yeah, we don't know that much. What you gave, some of those details right there, is what we have so far. I can step back, though, and show you that right behind me is the staging area for Beaufort County Sheriffs, as well as fire and other first responders. The island itself is uninhabited. This is the Half Moon Island out near Sheldon and Lobeco area. So that's the good news on this one. The other good news is both pilots were able to eject safely, according to the Marine Corps, in what they're calling just a routine flight. Ended in this crash. This is some video we got just a few moments ago from one of our viewers, Mary Rich, who was able to take some of these shots so you could see the amount of smoke coming from the island just after that plane went down. So here's what we do know. The F-18 Hornet crashed. This is the first time in about 3 to 4 years that something from Marine Corps Air Station Base has crashed in a public area like this. The good news with this island is it was completely uninhabited, and the people were able to get out and parachute out to safely. So that's what we know so far, is that right now we're waiting for the pilots to come back. The first responders are here to take care of whatever is necessary. There's a large amount of smoke that can be seen from various spots in the Low Country, but the pilots appear to be safe. The next step will be a safety investigation to figure out exactly what happened in this crash, what may have went wrong, and how do they stop it from happening again. I'll be live out here to find out the latest details for you for the rest of the evening. Andrew Davis, WSAV News 3, on your side.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much. And witnesses of the crash have reached out to WSAV.
And right now we are joined by Daniel Rich. And Daniel, tell us about the moment you realized that there was trouble.
I was reading and I heard it sounded like a jet accelerated low altitude. And then immediately following that, it sounded like a flame out and the engine stopped. And I looked across the Whale Branch from our porch, and this huge boom came up, and then a column of fire and smoke rose up about 400 feet. And we called 911 right away. And I did see 2 parachutes come out. They were, when I saw them, about 200 feet, I would estimate, above the tree line. One was orange and white, and the other one was just white. Then the column of smoke and fire burned for probably at least an hour after that.
Great job of summing up what you saw there. I'm wondering if you could talk a little more about just what you were feeling as you were watching that. That must have been, I mean, certainly something you haven't seen from your porch before.
Well, we have aircraft here that fly all the time with Marine Corps Air Station. And it's always a concern of ours, not so much for us, but for the pilots, because it's a very dangerous endeavor. And it's a training facility. So things can happen. So, you know, we're always kind of holding our breath a little bit when we see the jets and hear them, just for the safety of the pilots that are flying them.
Mr. Rich, we certainly appreciate your time this evening, and of course we're glad and very happy that those on board were able to walk away safely. Certainly a tough time for them, and again, we appreciate you giving us your overview of what happened this evening.
We're going to move on to some other news, and we'll update that story as soon as we can. As gun violence continues throughout Savannah, local community organizations are quietly working behind the scenes to take illegal guns off the streets. They have started a word of mouth gun buyback campaign with the help of Mayor Van Johnson. So state law doesn't allow city governments to hold gun buybacks, so the mayor has talked to several trusted local groups to help. He says by not advertising specific dates and locations for the program, they're creating a safe space for people, especially local youth, to hand over guns without the fear of getting in trouble.
It's person to person. It's with people they know. It's with people they trust. And I think that is the part of that. The young people have to feel like that. If I say no questions asked, we mean no questions asked. That this is not a reverse sting or something like that. That's not the purpose of this.
And the mayor says he expects some of the organizers of the gun buyback they will hold a press conference soon to let the community know how many guns they have purchased.
Now to news from around Georgia. Governor Brian Kemp promising to sign legislation into law that would do away with a need for a license to carry handgun in public. Kemp spoke about it Wednesday during a gun rights rally near the state capitol. He says residents should have their constitutional rights protected, but Democrats say the measure would fuel gun deaths. Well, the Georgia Senate passed the bill on Monday along party lines. It is now making its way through the state legislature.
Police are investigating a suspicious death in Savannah. This is video of the scene around 9 this morning, the 1400 block of Mills B Lane near Liberty Parkway. Investigators say right now they believe it was an accident. We're working to learn more, and as soon as we do, we will bring it to you on air and online. A Coffee County teacher is behind bars accused of engaging in sexual activity with students. 25-year-old Nathan Garrett faces charges including child molestation and sexual battery. Investigators say he was an instructor at George Washington Carver freshman campus. Now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation took on this case in late February. Garrett was arrested in Statesboro yesterday. Officials say that investigation is ongoing. A man was flown to a hospital after he was hit by a car near Hinesville. The Georgia State Patrol says it happened while the man was walking down Live Oak Church Road around 7 o'clock last night. GSP tells us the man was wearing dark clothes and the road doesn't have a sidewalk. No word yet on the man's condition at this time. A South Carolina judge is accused of trying to protect Alec Murdaugh. A banker claims that Judge Carmen Mullen took action to remove Murdaugh's name from a wrongful death settlement with the estate of the family's former housekeeper. Chad Wessendorf alleges that Corey Fleming, attorney and friend of Alec Murdaugh, requested Murdaugh's name be removed from the settlements and delay publicly filing the settlements to protect him from financial liability related to a deadly boat crash in 2019 involving his son. Judge Mullen recused herself from legal proceedings related to the boat crash because of her ties to the Murdaugh family, but she still oversees the death settlement with the former housekeeper's estate.
For us to elevate it to others to investigate. It's an unusual thing to delay making an order a part of a public record. That is why we have public records. And it was concerning to hear that the reason we were doing that was, if you believe Chad Wessendorf, it was for the purpose of protecting Alex Murdaugh.
Now, the Satterfield attorney says that Wessendorf gave the same statement to the FBI, SLED, and the state Supreme Court and reported the incident to the state judiciary branch. So we've reached out to Judge Mullen as well. Still no word tonight from her office. And News 3 learned through court filings that Bank of America has been dropped from the civil lawsuit filed by the family of Gloria Satterfield. Satterfield was the maid who died in a fall at the Murdaugh residence in 2018. Satterfield's lawyers have not confirmed that this means they have settled with the bank, but they did say that so far more than $7 million in stolen insurance settlements have been recovered for the family. And turning now to our continuing coverage of the crisis in Ukraine, Russian forces have captured their first major Ukrainian city in the war. Kherson sits in the south of the country and is a major port for the nation's trade. Earlier today, the Ukrainian mayor of the city reported on social media that Russian forces had made it to City Hall and he had surrendered after asking them to spare civilians. But there's still hope for a peaceful solution. Diplomats had some success at a meeting today in Belarus. Ukrainian and Russian officials agreed to create refugee corridors out of Ukraine and also said they will meet again. Now taking a closer look at the conflict in Ukraine, it's been a week since Russia invaded. An expert in Eastern European conflict tells us it could possibly be the largest war in Europe since World War II. WSAV's Brian Ray explains.
There were dozens of ways to address Russia's concerns. and avoid the conflict, and Russia chose the path of war.
Dr. Jacek Lubecki explains tensions between the two countries have been building since 2014.
A Russian-supported and pro-Russian government of Ukraine fell and was replaced by a more pro-Western leaning government of Ukraine. And President Putin's of Russia reaction to those events was to invade and annex certain territories of Ukraine, specifically Crimea.
Born in Poland, Lubecki's parents lived through World War II. He says this feels eerily similar. While the war may be thousands of miles away, Lubecki says the effects will be felt everywhere.
Global stock markets are shaken, and there's increasing talk of the global recession. So economic effects are dramatic, global, and cannot be underestimated. We're going to see the largest refugee crisis in Europe and perhaps in the world since, I think, World War II.
As the crisis continues to develop, mental health professionals say it can cause secondary traumatic stress and encourage people to check in with their emotions.
It is absolutely normal to feel sad, to feel increased amounts of stress or anxiety during this time, especially when we are seeing individuals in very unfortunate times in their lives where we may not be able to directly impact or do anything about it.
In Savannah, Brian Ray, WSAV News 3 on your side.
And we are on your side tonight with a warning for U.S. companies from Homeland Security regarding the Russians. The war may be in Ukraine, but we may be targeted with cyber attacks. Homeland Security says utilities, government agencies, and private businesses should beef up security, and that attacks may not just target large companies. Frank Katz, an assistant professor of information and technology at Georgia Southern, says a breach is often accomplished by stealing IDs and passwords, which in many cases is done by getting employees to click on links in emails.
I'm pretty worried. I think that there are enough people out there who don't practice what we call proper digital hygiene, or don't think about these things, and are not going to think twice. And if there was an attack, they could indeed let someone into their organization.
And Katz says employees need to be reminded not to be fooled by these email tricks because it can threaten the company's security. He also says most home computers would not be targeted. You can find more of our coverage on the crisis and the impacts felt here at home on our website. Just head to wsav.com/Ukraine.
Still to come tonight, a nationwide investigation about a popular social media platform.
How they are trying to determine if TikTok is harming the mental health of children.
And coming up in the Complete Storm Team 3 forecast, a slight cool down is on the way, and yet we're back up to record highs possibly over the weekend. We'll track it all for you in just a few minutes.
At 5:30, the January 6th committee saying for the first time today they believe former President Donald Trump committed criminal acts. You're watching WSAV First News at 5. We'll be right back.